What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hopefully you guys are having a great Sunday morning. Have had a great weekend. Hopefully you folks in New England will begin to dig out today, as you'll have clearing skies but just very cold temperatures. So hopefully you guys are faring well out there. Hopefully the power gets restored and it's not out too long. I know a lot of areas are out of power, but we're going to start to focus on the next major winter storm that's already going to be cranking up here in a few days as we get into our work week. And this is going to be a big deal for areas of Texas, all the way up to areas of the Northeast, including all states in between. So there's a lot to discuss. Remember, in the mornings, we're leading up to big storms when we're talking about them days in advance. All we're going to do in the mornings is just talk about the model guidance, compare and contrast the two biggest models, which is the European and the GFS, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. In the evening updates, we get much more detail. We talk about what exactly is going on, and we'll break it down a little bit further for you guys. If you guys have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button for me. Like the video if you like it. Consider joining it if you can. You know, I got 15 members who have joined my channel. About 8 or 10 of them have joined just in the last few weeks. So that goes a long way, guys. But just y'all tuning in and watching my channel just means the absolute world to me, and I appreciate it so much. Hit me up on my social media links. It's a great way to stay up to date with constant updates as opposed to just a video every 8 to 10 hours. So let's get rolling here. If you guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It's Sunday. Let's definitely pray for one another. That's very important every day of the week, but especially on a Sunday, right? So let's get going here. So we're just going to go straight to the punch. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the South Central U.S., which includes states like Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, things like that. So the storm actually gets cranked up a little bit earlier for areas up in this area, as the first low pressure really affects areas of the Ohio Valley, Midwest a little bit more. But here we go. So focus on Texas. We're going to take a look at the European for this area and then the GFS for this area. We're going to compare and contrast and see what looks different, right? So here we go. We're getting into, if you don't know what day we're at, check it out right here, right up here. See the WED, that's for Wednesday, 09Z. So that's for, I don't know, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So you always kind of go back 5 hours compared to this number right here. But anyways, don't pay too much attention to that. I'll continue to mention that in my video and try to help you out as far as the timestamp part of this storm. But as we're getting going, we're getting into Wednesday morning. You already got wintry weather breaking out well up here. Don't focus too much on this area because I'm going to break down that here in a second. But what this is Arctic air is coming down. There's an Arctic boundary setting up right here. You got warm moisture coming out the Gulf, which taps into this Arctic air. So this warm advection goes over the shallow Arctic air, which a lot of times means you have a big time ice storm corridor that sets up between the rain and the snow, and you got sleet and freezing rain somewhere in between. And somewhere in Arkansas into Missouri are going to get an ice storm from this. But we're going through in time. So the Arctic air is seeping south at the same time that moistures began to increase. So you're getting into Wednesday evening of this coming week, and then you have a wintry mess as we're getting into late Wednesday into Thursday morning, starting to become widespread for areas of North Texas, into areas of Oklahoma, into areas of Arkansas, Missouri, and freezing rain breaking out across areas of Texas. There's so much going on here. It's hard to just say every single state, but y'all get what I'm saying. Y'all see what's going on here. The low pressure really kicks up right here and slams Arkansas. Half the state's getting heavy snow. The middle of the state is getting a lot of ice, and the southern areas are getting freezing rain. But even for the southern areas, they get into the ice. But look at Dallas, Fort Worth. They're already honking the horn a little bit out there for a winter storm coming up. But it's not just Dallas, Fort Worth. This seeps all the way down to almost Austin, Texas. Gets very close to San Antonio. Not quite there, but it gets very close. I mean, I wouldn't not doubt it getting that far south in these kind of setups. I really wouldn't. But check it out. I mean, this really begins to crank up as early as Wednesday afternoon, and then lasts throughout the day Thursday, and then might end to some snow for areas of North Texas if you're getting overnight Thursday into Friday. That's one solution, right? Which is much further south. You take a look at the GFS for the same region. We'll back it up here. And you got the first system right here, which we'll talk about. But here comes the second system, which I really think will be very impactful. It's much more amplified, which means it has much more moisture with it than the European. It's not as suppressed either. So there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more moisture down here in Texas. Low pressure develops. Arctic air sags south. Shallow Arctic air sets up here. And then you have a corridor of heavy ice. Sleet is in the orange. And you basically have, for example, in Dallas-Fort Worth, a scenario where you go from ice to sleet to snow. And it is a long duration event. This is actually for Thursday morning around 7 a.m. or so, 8 a.m. And I mean, you have an all-out winter storm going on deep into Texas, Arkansas. There's a strong signal right here for these areas. There really is. Southern Missouri, you might go from ice to just all snow. It gets very close for you folks in Tennessee. We're going to talk more about that too as we get more confident on what's going to happen right here. But the GFS is just, you look at this and you compare, let's compare this image, which is 12Z Thursday, to this image, which is 12Z Thursday right here. You notice there's just, the winter weather is, the frozen precipitation is a little bit further south, right? And not much, but a little bit. But there's a lot more moisture going on. The deeper colors are there, showing that there'll be more of an amplified solution if we're looking at the GFS. So let's move a little further up northeast, right? Getting into the Ohio Valley and Mid-South and things like that. Here comes our first system. This is the European. The first system really affects areas of like maybe Chicago, Indiana, Illinois, and even Missouri. Getting into Ohio, as we're getting into late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, you got snow breaking out, maybe just south of Chicago, the heaviest snow breaking out in central Illinois, northern Indiana. The cold air begins to continue to sag south. We get into Wednesday morning. You have even heavier precipitation. I don't think this will be the biggest part of this system. I think there's really going to be two distinct low pressures that flies around this Arctic boundary. You never know, you could have a sneaky third one. But this is moving forward here. You already got freezing rain, sleet breaking out in areas of southern Illinois and Missouri and even Oklahoma. Snowing in Detroit as we get into our Wednesday morning off the Euro. And then it kind of gets sheared out, if you will. I mean, you still got snow breaking out into northern Ohio, Cleveland, Erie, Pennsylvania. I mean, look at this. This is stretching from Texas all the way up to the northeast. Just a corridor of frozen precipitation. You have a wintry mix starting to break out over areas of Arkansas like we just mentioned. And then look in Tennessee, look in Kentucky. This is affecting everybody. There's so many states to mention in this. So as this kind of starts to lose its punch, here comes our next low pressure, which could be more intense. In this case, high pressure is sitting right here. It's bogging down the system, if you will, suppressing it, which is what we say in the weather world, which is basically the high pressure is pushing the low pressure much further south to keep a more southerly route here. And then heavier frozen precipitation breaks out again over these same areas, but for areas more south. So maybe off the European run, Chicago doesn't get into the wintry weather for the next low pressure, but it slams Arkansas. It gets into southern Indiana and Illinois, which are in a snow drought right now. You're definitely hugging the European. You get an all-out winter storm for several hours. And then getting in Kentucky, you got ice breaking out in western Tennessee, northeast Mississippi as we're getting into our Thursday morning this coming week. And then the low pressure continues to ride as it continues to take more of a east-southeast route because it's getting pushed down by this Arctic high that's shooting down here. And then you got snow breaking out over now areas of Kentucky, southern Ohio, areas of Pennsylvania as we're getting into our Thursday afternoon. And then freezing rain and ice storms showing up for areas into West Virginia before that changes to snow. So it's a kind of a domino effect, right? You have low pressure shooting this Arctic boundary, but at the same time, the Arctic boundary is settling south. So these areas may start out as ice, may go to snow. It's a tough one. It really is. You compare that with the GFS with this range, and really confidence begins to get a little shaky the further northeast you get with the comparisons between the two models. So this is the first system. The first system looks pretty set in stone. I mean, there is some differences, but not much, right? Here comes the second system, which is much more amplified, which means it's more north. The high pressure isn't influencing it as much. So with the second system, you have more ice showing up in Illinois and Indiana and southern areas of those areas. And then Ohio, more ice showing up here. And then it shows snow making it all the way up to Chicago. Not much, but it really shows a big impactful event for areas of the Ohio Valley in general. And then just a wintry mess in the quad states and the four corners right here. Not the four corners, but the quad states right here showing up where, southeast Missouri, Kentucky, and that area right in there where the tornadoes hit really bad back in mid-December. But an ice storm setting up here, it's going to be so hard to truly narrow down who gets the most ice. It really is. But if you're looking at the GFS, It's a warmer system in general, but not warm enough to not be a mess here. But and then really the first system almost starts off as snow and then goes to freezing rain and back to snow for areas of the Ohio Valley. Man, it's a mouthful to talk about this. These are going to be longer videos all this week because we're covering such a large area. I mean, it's such a huge area here. But you look at the Northeast, what are we expecting for you guys? Well, as early as overnight Wednesday and Thursday, you guys could start to see some precipitation moving through. This is the European, which is a more colder and southern solution. Snow breaking out over basically the entire, I would say, northwest half of Pennsylvania. Maybe some light precipitation. All this can change, remember. And then the interior Northeast getting some light snow and then into some heavier snow. And then here comes that secondary low pressure as you're getting into Thursday evening, and then it brings more snow for areas that just got slammed by the blizzard and basically the nor'eastern. And then you have ice showing up all the way into Virginia. The European continues to trend a little bit colder. We got to watch this, even for areas of the mid-Atlantic. We really do. And then you have ice showing up in the Delmarva area, Maryland, Delaware, southern New Jersey, and then that all turns to snow too. So big question marks, guys. Really is here. And we compare it out with the GFS. The Northeast is really where the GFS and the European really disagree. The GFS stays really warm, brings a big-time impactful snowstorm for Buffalo, areas of the interior Northeast, upstate New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire really get slammed with this. In fact, Vermont, New Hampshire get a nasty ice storm also. Maine gets hit with a very impactful storm, but you notice the southern areas, southern New England, it's all rain. And it might end as some ice. So it's much different for these areas. When you compare the Northeast with the when you compare the Euro with the GFS with the Northeast, much different. So let's look at potential accumulations. And honestly, let's focus on the Euro. Let's not compare the Euro with the GFS. I'll do that tonight. Showing some heavy snow for areas of the Ozarks of Arkansas, several inches of Missouri, several inches just west of Dallas-Fort Worth. It's showing, well over a half a foot of snow. A lot of snow showing up here. We take a look at the freezing rain for these areas, right? Nasty ice storm. Now, you probably need to cut some of these totals in half, but nasty ice storm from the latest Euro showing up in areas of Arkansas and even into Memphis. Icing all the way into south central Texas. Nasty icing showing up even in western Tennessee, even in northwest Mississippi. So there's going to be an ice storm part of the storm. It's going to be nasty. It really is. Looks like I had that. So we look a little bit further east. This is the Euro. This is showing a lot of snow for a lot of people. But as you get into the Ohio Valley and then into the areas of the Northeast, this is where the models really differ with that secondary low pressure on who's going to get what. There's a lot of differences there. Who caves to who is going to be a big question mark. So, but it shows the entire state of Ohio getting several inches of snow. Indiana getting hit really well with a lot of snow. And then I really think Chicago, I know I got a few people who watch from that area. You're really going to want to pull for the GFS to win here if y'all want snow up there, because it looks like areas to your south might get the most from this as of now. So this will be another big event, nothing compared to the blizzard we just got for southern New England. But then you look at the ice, and let me expand this. We'll take a look at the ice for these areas. And remember, cut some of these totals in half a little bit. And the ice corridor is pretty far south. In fact, it gets all the way into North Carolina. Shows ice for the entire state of Tennessee. Just a nasty ice storm that sets up somewhere in here. We got a long way to go to figuring this out, guys. So definitely stay tuned tonight. We'll get new model information, and we'll try to figure this out for you guys. But thank you all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and have a great day.